What's the big idea?
Okay, we are here with episode number 50.
I was going to let you say it.
50. All the cameras look good. Just checking. Good. Oh, yeah. There you are. Eric's here.
Good. Hello.
For people just listening, we're doing a camera check of everything. Yeah, so this is our 50th episode of Volleyballology, so we thought it's very appropriate to talk about a topic that, 50% of people care about. Actually, I think 100%.
That happens to 50% of the... No, it's
maybe.
almost,
I think it's more.
everyone.
I think
it's inevitable that they would run into it.
I think... Oh, go ahead.
Well, just depending on how you're affected by it, perhaps.
But I think everybody feels it affects them, right?
Yeah.
And of course, that topic is gonorrhea.
Oh, I was gonna say climate change.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's another big topic. I don't think we need to get it political. For sure. I mean, the real topic is politics.
Well, we are going to get political.
We're not going to get political. We're going to talk about the political.
Right, without getting political.
Because we don't want to get political. We want to be neutral.
Right.
Politics in volleyball, and not just club volleyball, but that's a huge one, of course. We're going to talk about how it happens at different levels, because it really does. A lot of people think that you won't get politics the higher up you go in volleyball, but in post-secondary there's politics, and in professional there's politics, and there's always everybody hates their a lot of people hate their coaches, even good coaches, and there's decisions made. I think that's the problem, when decisions are made that aren't based on what's best for the team, or the best player getting the time.
Does that pretty much, that right there, does that sum up politics?
Yeah.
Like whenever it just seems like what the choice the coach is making, especially when they're making it without providing a reason or
the organization. Because it could be above the coach even, right?
Totally, yeah. That's when we can just bust out the word politics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, politics.
I think the definition.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good way. We should probably start by defining it, right? I think if you were to define politics in sport or volleyball specifically, it would be a decision that's not based on merit, right? Not something that wasn't earned, that was given for a different reason. Like maybe in club, the example would be parents been with the club forever, paid a lot of money into it. Maybe they're buddies with the coach. So the kid gets the spot or more playing time. And as you go up the ladder, we're going to talk about other cases of it, internationally, national team. But I think that's a good definition, right? Where it's not about what's the best player, right, or the best for the team.
Funny how I think a lot of this is connected to last week's episode of the whole is youth, like the difference between youth volleyball and pro sports, right? They're not the same, and how we take the perspective of the one and we try to overlay it onto youth sports, and it creates all these problems.
Yeah.
Right. I think a bunch of these political issues or politics in sports is kind of stemming from that as well. I'm sure we talked about it, or maybe we didn't, but we will now. But if you think about it, especially the getting the play time, and like in the example you mentioned, the parent paying a lot of money or, making donations or whatever, like money is involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And pro sports, money is involved, getting more exposure. And that's kind of what, like in the times I've seen it in my past of my own teams and on other teams, it's like pushing to get this kid more attention and like using leverage, like social leverage on a coach, or like trying to persuade them, you know what I mean? Manipulate, stuff like that. Step on, with disregard for what other athletes on the team you may be like negatively affecting, and just not caring, right? And just like kind of doing your narcissistic impulses. Yeah.
And I think the one topic that really connects here is pre-signings in youth volleyball.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Because that's all politics. That's that whole idea of taking a whole group of 12 players and re-signing them no matter who walks in the gym next year is crazy. And it's politics because it's an off-court decision based on the club's fear of losing good players, or losing good players, offending them, that they'll run somewhere else because you didn't give them an early offer.
Yeah.
And the club's fear of losing, because they don't have the coaches to draw the players, so they're just going to offer an early signing.
They're in that right now. I know clubs in our area are in this phase right now.
Yep.
And I know for a fact that like there's anxiety of like people not wanting to pre-sign until other people pre-sign, so they're waiting because maybe then they'll go to another team last minute. It's all this like last minute waiting games, right? And like
and the answer is to blow it up. Like for any the governing bodies should really have a firm tryout window, a date by which offers have to be given. Yeah. They used to do this in the 24-hour acceptance period, right?
In youth sports?
Yeah. So you have a 24-hour acceptance period. So you can't go around, waiting and waiting and waiting. So and just and then the clubs, you make your list of your top 12 or whatever, and then you have a bunch of 8 to 10 names after that, and you just go down that list in order. It's not that hard. It's like, okay, we lost these players, but because the clubs are afraid of losing players, the parents are afraid of losing spots, and the kids are terrified. Everybody's just like, let's just keep everybody safe. Just come back next year. Same coach, same group, just go up. And that's not what club sports. Well, you don't even want to have the same coach 2 years in a row. I don't care how good they are.
And then with that, like, there's still the impulse to have the best team. So now you're trying to like persuade others that maybe we're on other teams to come over here and like do this whole pre-signing thing. Yeah.
And in fairness, I mean, some of the best coaches will do that. They'll the kid will talk to a friend and say, hey, listen, we need a libero next year. We need an outside hitter. And if you're a good coach, I mean, I think all the power to you, but it does suck for players when again, so if the best players are coming to one team, that's fine. But I hate it when you just fill a roster. And then within that, that's the next step is like the pre-signing sucks. And then later on among the team, there's sometimes that weird thing where a coach gets in their head who the top 6 are, and it doesn't matter what the 7th player does or what the bench players do, even if they progress. I've seen that lots where like the bench players progress and you're like, why aren't they getting more time? It's because the coach has it in their head who their favorite is. And that's another example of politics that's less organizational and just like within the individual coach, right?
Yeah. I think you can have a coach who's good at, development and understands the game, but if they're not good at the whole playing political defense, or someone who's assertive enough to have the values and then defend them on being against this pre-signing stuff. If you have a coach like that who's good at that stuff, not good at the political game, they're going to get roped into it, especially early in the season, because they're going to be, you got immense pressure from parents, asking, well, what are you doing with, like, do you have a setter, like your right side, or who else are you going to grab? Are you going to get this person? Or it's like,
most parents aren't that knknowledgeable, but
some of them, and then who knows exactly. And I think
really knowledgeable parents usually shut up. Like, the real knowledgeable parents, they usually, because they get it, they understand the problems that the coach is facing. But the insecure coach will cave to everybody. The insecure coach will cave to the best player. The insecure coach will cave to the club director, and they'll definitely and they'll be. That's why so many people hate coaching, because they don't have the guts to stand up and say, "Listen, I played. I know what's best. I can explain to you why this is best." That's the one, right? Like the other coaches who can't explain their why are just like, because I said so, and that's not an answer.
Right. You know what'll happen with that coach who does stand up and do that? Well, it's probably it'll be good. It'll scare a bunch of parents away. That's a good thing. They'll be like, oh, we can't. I feel like I can't. Maybe they won't even realize it, but on a subconscious level, they feel they can't even manipulate this coach, and they're like, we're going to go somewhere else.
You know what weirdly happened? I can speak from experience in this, not only as a coach, but even as a teacher.
But I know a great thing would happen from it as well.
Well, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's the only. I know some parents would be discouraged, run away, and then other parents would definitely be okay with it and probably feel better about remaining with it.
Yeah, people don't understand that, and this is one really important thing that even other teachers didn't understand this. I talked to teachers about this and coaches. If you really have a good why, right, which means that you have to know your crap. That's the most coaches don't know their stuff. But if you know what you're talking about and you can explain the why, and then the results come naturally. It's not even it's not a if they come. If you know your stuff, the results come. And so parents will back down because don't forget, they're insecure parents. That's why they're so vocal, right? They're insecure.
Yeah.
Confident parents aren't vocal. So insecure parents are vocal. They're the loudest ones. And then when they meet confidence, they back down because they're like, oh, okay, this person,
Yeah.
you know, but it doesn't, confidence
It's
doesn't
like
mean
me
walking
in relationships.
yeah, exactly. It's like, you said that. I did say that. No, but if you are a confident coach, doesn't mean stick your chest out and be loud. Confident coach means have good answers, right? Like you don't have to be loud to be confident. You just have to be really good answers, listen well, and answer better. And then they back down because they know you know what you're talking about. Because logic, you can't argue with logic, right?
Yeah.
Like it just if you have good I mean, I guess logic and communication skills, right? If you're a logical person who can't communicate it, then that doesn't work. But that's the answer. So most parents, I've never, like even when I was teaching all the way up until like, you know, a few years ago, never had a parent that didn't listen and agree with me by the time they were done. Because even no matter how angry they were, no matter what we were talking about, it always came back to here's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And when I coached, same thing. Here's why we're doing what we're doing. And they're like, oh, okay.
You know what? And I guess this is one of the good things of still having belief in the good in humanity is that most people would understand that and come around to it. There's always going to be that, I don't know, 10 or 20% of people who are just whatever. They want their own way and they don't want a confident coach. They want to go, let them go, right?
Well, they don't think they want a confident coach, but they actually do. That's what, like people don't even know what they want. They want a confident, competent, intelligent coach, but the problem is that it's two idiots are colliding, or maybe the parent is logical and the coach is an idiot. Remember, this is our whole thing. That the problem is there's too many coaches that aren't good. Like it's honestly, I would put it at. I mean, the law of the universe is kind of like 90-10, right? Like
I was thinking that number.
Well, that's it, right? Like there's 90 of crap. Or like, mediocre
10%
to crap. And 10% at the top and maybe 10% at the bottom that are like exceptionally bad. But there's 90%. I think the 90% are like bad to bad. Like, yeah, they're bad. And there's 10% at the top that are good at anything, no matter what the industry, right? Like you could talk to like a ice cream salesman, right? There's like 10% at the top and 90% of the rest are the rest. I don't know why I said ice cream salesman.
Well,
ice cream sells itself.
Yeah,
right?
It's true.
Like nobody scratches their head and said, man, how am I going to sell all this ice cream?
Yeah, pretty much just open a shop and
maybe a certain flavor. And you're like, hey, but have you tried that?
Have you tried that? It's really good.
And they're like, you're a very bad ice cream salesman. Well, they told me it sells itself.
You're just already scooping it for them.
The stupid podcast says it sells itself. I bought all the same flavor and nobody likes it. Anyway, so yeah, you were saying your relationships?
Oh, yeah. It's
no, but I think the problem with the
90% of them don't work out.
It's not your fault. No, but I think so. The problem with the logical parent, that's, I think, when you go in the Facebook groups and you see these parents banging their heads against the wall because there's logical parents who are like, how can this be good for kids? How can the way you're acting or what you're doing be even good for sport kids? And they're meeting these coaches that have all the power with zero credentials. And then when they make those decisions based on it's like I've seen it tons of times with not just my kids, other kids where there's a good kid in the gym and they're not going to put them on the team, right? And it goes. So I think one of the things we want to talk about today is how high it goes, right? Because one of the reasons we want to talk about this is because there's a national team player. We won't say what country, we won't say where they're from. Yeah. But so just this past week, a country has a qualifying tournament for beach volleyball Olympics, right? And a team qualified. Okay, by winning that tournament, they win their country's spot, right? In the Olympics. Not in the Olympics, in the World Championships.
This is what's hilarious to me is that it's not the athletes who want a spot for themselves.
Yeah,
who are representative of that country. No, they want a spot for that country. I couldn't believe that.
I think that's the wording. In the World Championships.
Yes, right.
And then so So these two athletes, beach volleyball team, and then their home governing body said, "We're gonna
great job,
great job, thanks. We're gonna give the spot to someone else." And there might be more behind the scenes that we don't know, like maybe someone wasn't able to play, but you should at the very least have a match, like a playoff, right, between the two teams that are in question.
At
the very least, yeah. And even so, this happened in the same country a few years earlier with a different team that qualified, and then they did do the match, and that younger team was wondering why we have to play this match, because it's just a made up match, and then they lost a very close match. Because
you gotta think like what their heart is like. They just won this qualifier to get to that world championship, and now it's like, oh hey, you have to play against this team who didn't. But if they beat you, they get your ticket to go.
So the previous one was an Olympic spot, by the way. Which
that's even worse.
Yeah, this is Worlds.
Way worse.
This is Worlds, yeah. But
still devastating.
Yeah. And it deflates, right? One team is a veteran, the younger. Both teams actually are veteran former teammates.
Well, right.
We're getting too specific.
See,
we're getting too specific. But anyway, but the bottom line is, so the point of that, bringing that up, is that the politics goes all the way up to the top. I have another friend of mine whose brother, national team player, left the national team because of disagreements with the coach, like who the coach was playing ahead of them, and he just gets so frustrated with volleyball that he quit. And that's the second friend of mine who was on the national team who had a similar, just wanted to leave, didn't want to play anymore.
I've heard I've been getting to know a few people that know a little bit more about who runs Volleyball Canada
or USA Volleyball
or USA. Well, I don't know
Mexico
much about that. This is not connected to the story that you just told.
England Volleyball.
Yeah, and just
Scotland,
hearing horror stories of
France.
Money moving and how money comes in, and then how I think the previous one, so much of it was meant to go to the athletes, and then auditing at the end of the year, it's like, where did all that money go?
Yeah.
And then apparently, I think this one individual, used it for, I don't know, their own property, building a fence and, stuff like this.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's tricky. Because you have to be careful with that stuff, because sometimes those stories, take a life of their own.
Spiteful,
I mean, I can tell you for a fact that, so governing bodies get audited very strictly, by the government.
I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they're not wasteful. They can be very wasteful and silly in how they spend their dollars, because there's no pressure to perform like in the private sector.
They just have to make sure that they consume the dollars and that it's allocated to whatever the auditing body thinks is appropriate.
And in some cases, so it's coming from the public sector too. I know that if you don't spend the budget on something, then it'll be gone next year. That's the stupid part of public sector funding. It's so then they're like, okay, just spend it. Or there's stupid things if we have to buy a desk, if we have to buy this table, and I worked for a public agency, I can only buy this table from a certain supplier, and that supplier, rather than selling us for $200, sells it for $2,000. Yeah. And we have to go with this supplier, and every government supplier or public,
that's healthcare.
They just drive everything up like crazy. It's every industry.
Yeah.
Once you get that contract, you just drive up the price of everything because they're locked into you. It's like a contractual agreement. So they can't even shop for the best buy. They can't even shop for the best price. So those sorts of decisions, I don't know if it's buying a personal fence or I think it's more probably it's just on the surface, it's stupid spending, but when you're in the organization, they equally think it's stupid.
Yeah.
And
aside from that, though, at least regardless of the gossip, there was a high turnover rate. No one's really been able to stay in this position for more than
and that goes
3
into
years.
It's a whole different issue, but public sector versus private. One of my theories is that public sector can never attract the best people because what you do is
especially when it's meant to be a meritocracy, but now it's it's run by a government, so it's public sector, but it's about sport, so it's two very difficult virtues
virtue. It's more so this. So if the public sector wants to pay someone get the best, then
Yeah.
they have to pay really well. And the tax-paying public doesn't want their money going to that. They publish these salaries, right?
Right.
So like, what, that person's getting, $300,000, but they don't know that the private sector will snatch that person up, or they'll go to the private sector
Exactly.
and they'll perform and make a crap ton more. So
Yeah.
that's the quandary. That's the problem with public sector in every industry, is that the minute they start to pay someone high money, the public gets outraged because the salary's outrageous, because they get to see it. And then that person instead goes to the private sector and performs really well and makes a crap ton of money. That's the whole nature. That's like something else. I want to write that book because I just want to tell people why.
Nature.
Well, that's the whole problem with public sector, because they can't.
You're so conservative. I mean,
No, I'm not. I'm not even. It's not even anything. It's just the reality of how it's working. So
that's what I mean. It is just the
if
reality.
anything, my argument is pro public sector, because I'm like, I would say to the public, like, listen, if you want amazing schools, jails, hospitals, whatever, then pay up.
pay them.
Pay
Yeah.
up, and you'll see that the services will get better. And even, what's funny? That type of person would probably make everything very efficient down the line, and very like performance based. But this is the argument for privatization. And this is why we have this debate. And again, I'm someone from the public sector, and I saw it like, as a private sector business who was also it's pretty unique, right? Like I had a business on the side that's private, and I was working in the public sector, and I saw the inefficiencies of the public sector because I had the private sector experience. And like, man, in the private sector, you're just like fast going. Everything has to work well. And the pressure of the market makes you need to be good. That's why we talk about private clubs versus public clubs, right?
Yeah.
The private club has to be good, right? And it'll do that. It'll make sure it does it. But the problem is that they'll jack their rates up, and then there's not equal access for kids. And that's where we go back to, well, then that's why we need public clubs. That's why we need public schools. That's why we need public hospital. That's the quandary we're in as a society. Because same with healthcare. The risk is that they'll be overpricing the good hospitals, let's say. We'll be charging a fortune for them. But then the other argument is, no, because there's a whole bunch of people, someone will come into the market and say, no, let's make it affordable for everybody. And it's like the Walmart of healthcare, let's say. I don't know if that's a good sounds pretty cruel, but but that idea that let's get all of these people and give them really good healthcare, and someone will try to win that market. Or let's make it super, like even like Mark Cuban in the States is trying to do some of that with medications. Right? He's trying to make them super affordable for the poorest of Americans. And that's a good business move. Not only is it good for people, but it's a good business move, right?
He's trying to do that with like just really important stuff like insulin, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the
vital stuff that people are getting ripped off.
Right. Like how many, I'm sure certain people still, hopefully they can get off like their cholesterol and high blood pressure pills just by eating better, but like
that's the thing.
Not have to pay a fortune while you still need them until you can get off them. But
meds in general, right? We're quick to sell the pill versus
man.
But anyway, we're getting but politics in club it is related to that issue, because the public club the decision, or the not-for-profit club can make some decisions that might not be best for performance. Whereas I have some friends, we have friends that are coaching in American private clubs. Yeah. They wouldn't make the silly decision because they're too, they're too worried about the customer in a good way. And what I mean is, like, if you're worried about the customer, like, it's not the customer's always right. It's also, we're going to make the best coach. We're going to get the best coaches here, so that people can't question our coaches. Yeah. And we don't have to worry about them. Well, it's kind of like what we did with you, right? Like, you're working with our organization outside of Volleyballology. And I was just telling you this week, like, the reason why I brought you in is because I know that you're going to teach it well, and you're going to bring your experience, and we're paying you well to do that. Right. So that's also why, right? Like,
and the clients will just come on their own, because like with a private club, good coaches, it's like the advertising's automatic. I'm sure you still have to want to do it, but then those are the parents' logical reasoning ones where it's like, I understand like the value of what I'm doing here. Like, I trust in this system or club to make my kid play better.
Right. Versus, like we talked about, going to other clubs. Yeah. Like, if you have an opportunity to coach with a traditional club team, then it's just going to be more, you're going to be in that world of politics, or you get caught up in that world where they're not going to give you the best team, or you're going to be, used down here.
Yeah.
Or they'll just throw they'll tell you not to piss off some parent. Oh, you got to make sure this family makes the team, but what if they don't deserve it? Well, too bad.
So these private clubs, they're likely holding tryouts.
Yeah,
not
I would think so. Unless there's that problem in private sector where they might be like,
because what if
a family who's been a customer for years,
and they just pay, like they get their kid on the team. I can see that being possible.
But the other problem in that is that then they piss off the other parents who want their kids to be on the best team, and then there's some kid moving up who doesn't deserve it.
And then what's the income of 12 parents versus one?
Exactly. Like the value in being honest in private sector, it's interesting. I never used to think this when I was younger, but the private sector is interesting because it's hard to be. If you're a bad performer in the private sector, you will be gone. You won't survive. If you're a bad performer in the public sector, you can last. You can make a whole career out of it.
That's why I left private, because
or public. You mean?
No, I first left private.
You did both. Yes.
Because I know that they're on you so hard that I'm going to do a good job. I just know it. But then it comes at the cost of my own health and wellness, right? So it eventually got to the point where it's this is too stressful. And
you were also in a very specific niche industry, though, where there's a shortage of you. In public sector jobs where there's a dime a dozen.
Oh, yeah.
You could not, they wouldn't survive in your...
I went to the same type of position, though. It's urgent medical care, fixing equipment, right? So if something goes down, you go there that night, 2 a.m, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I go from private to public. Maybe not the same machines, but it's still in healthcare. Machine goes down or power goes down. It's obviously super urgent. But then it was for sure a much easier ride. You can just kind of show up and
Yeah, because the system
go through the motions type thing.
It's also funny because people expect the public system to be broken and slow and delayed. So there's we're going to take a few weeks, or our approved supplier is busy. Yeah. Right. Even in our world, we had some volleyball posts that are falling down in location, and so we emailed them weeks ago, hey, can you fix this post, because right now we're ratchet strapping it to hold it up.
Oh my goodness.
And they're we're just at the mercy of our approved contractor, and they haven't been able to get it. So fixing a post, it's literally a 10-minute job. And I'm okay, and then another one's gone now, and we're ratchet strapping that one, and I'm hey, any update?
Just go to Home Hardware or Depot, buy a strap.
Yeah, so we've ratchet strapped them up but the base is messed up, so
that part of it,
you gotta be so it's taken them all summer. Also, this is a city, right? So this is what if it's my place, if it's a facility that we own, done next the same day. Same day.
You go out and with your credit card and you buy it and you come back. I wanted to do that when I was at the hospital. It's no, you're not allowed to do that. It's wait, what do you mean? No, you gotta fill out this form, and then you gotta wait, and then
in triplicate.
And you know what they did one time? I shouldn't talk about it, but whatever. They would pay their one supplier via check through the mail. Yes. And then they forgot to pay their bill at one point, that they were no longer allowed. Their account was put on pause until they balanced out their tab, and then they were allowed to repurchase. So
but that's same with schools. Schools do checks and mail, man.
Well,
they don't do credit card. They don't do, it's, trust me, it's pretty bad. It's a sorry state of affairs. But to go back to this, because it is related though, because these organizations that don't function well, right? They make these decisions, and the higher ups make them. Now, in a lot of cases, sometimes people at the bottom don't know the factors that people at the top face. I see this. People don't know why we have certain policies, and I'm well, here's why.
I think we have to assume that we don't know everything.
Yeah, but in public,
we can make a good guess. We can make a good guess in volleyball.
In sports, in sports, it's easier to tell when something
even height that can be counted as politics in volleyball.
It can, and or just a lack of awareness. You even said, right, there's some players now, next gen beach players that go ahead, tell the story.
Well, it's just I know,
without naming names and nations.
Two athletes, part of a national training program, young athletes, up and coming beach players, who 2 of them are actually at the top of their province or state. but however, they weren't even part of this national training program. But the one guy's partner is, so it's hilarious.
Wow.
So his partner goes to training every
So they
day.
talked to you about it?
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit about it.
And what were they told as to why they were separated? Because
No, they weren't separated.
Okay.
But like they still compete together. But the one guy,
no, what I mean is like how they took one and not the other.
yeah,
Because they probably have another player somewhere that they think would be a better fit or is taller.
yeah.
You said
no.
height.
Well, it's not a height issue because
okay.
the kid's 6'5",
Okay.
so he's big enough.
But
He's like got a bit of a different style. Very, very like sees everything, sees the whole court, just places the ball, doesn't really swing on the ball a lot, but he doesn't need to, and it works.
Yeah, that's 90% of beach. Yeah.
Exactly. And so this is 2 years in a row he hasn't been on this program, and so because it's
And he has no clue.
I don't know him well enough.
Oh, okay. To ask
right?
him, right?
Um,
So he wants it though.
well, I did find out that he actually challenged it and like got a lawyer involved
Oh boy. Okay. So yeah. So he wants
because there's funding involved, right?
it. Yeah, and
Um,
recognition, and sponsorship stuff.
Yeah,
Like you
and
get seen.
exactly, and then you're just gonna get better because like
Yeah.
you will have access to these coaches, right?
And other players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what came of that. All I know is that like he went because that makes sense. If it's a publicly funded thing, you can actually get a lawyer involved, right? And I thought that was
They might panic. Yeah.
something extreme, but and then it happened to another girl I know. I think she finally made it this year. So stuff like that. But then this guy is like beating everyone else in this program. It's like, what are you doing? Like he's
Interesting.
I don't know. I
Wonder-
don't know.
Sometimes from
It's got to be a weird reason.
Yeah, thinking about the organization, it could be a family thing.
Yeah,
It could,
yeah,
You don't
like
know,
someone-
maybe the dad or mom is crazy, or maybe there's something like that. I mean, you hope it's not. You hope it's something like that, and not just like sheer. Like, there's got to be something, right?
I wonder if it's the only thing.
Behavioral.
Well, he's also not an indoor player, and then most of the other guys I can think of are. Maybe there's something related to that, but
Well, I mean, in beach, you kind of want a guy to be or a player to be all beach, you know.
yeah,
Like
I don't know. I'm
indoor doesn't help much on the beach,
speculating here.
unless they're sometimes they do that weird. I don't know why they do that.
it's true
but
though.
they
All the other ones, they all play in universities, or did.
Yeah, I mean, we're guessing it could be any
I
number
am
of things,
guessing,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
it might be who he knows, who he doesn't know, but the lawyer thing is pretty interesting.
Could be attitude.
That's what I think. A lot of national programs they do really vet people
Not
for
coachable.
demeanor, mental stuff. You know, like we know lots of great players
Yeah.
who never got a shot
Yeah.
because of that sort of stuff. So that could be it. There's definitely some. I mean, if you look at guys in national programs, they definitely fit a certain mold. You know what I mean? They're not. It's funny. They're not usually like contrarian sort of rebel vibes. Like not a lot of tats. That's short for tattoo for all the parents out there. I read that in Urban Dictionary.
Fitty, now tats.
Fitty
Holy
tats.
jeez.
I got fitty tats. Fitty means 50, in case you're wondering. But anyway, yeah. So I think one important takeaway for people in this episode is that politics will always be there.
Yeah.
There will always be, as long as there are, people with biases or, poor behavior, or like, I don't want to say idiots, but as long as there are idiots, then there's going to be idiotic politics.
What about
Yeah.
what your daughter said the other day? How because now she's going to university, college, or whatever, might play there, but then also she's been playing like just in adult leagues for the whole summer. And I think she said to you that she was just so glad she's done club, right?
Right. Yes.
'Cause
we actually said that, as a family, we're very happy that their club days are over.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
the great thing is like, I've been playing in adult leagues since I've finished at college, and like I'm still playing. And it's fun.
Yeah.
There's other politics.
Yeah.
But that's gossip. That's not politics, but-
just people being weird. Yeah.
But it's awesome. It's just free. Or not free, but it's like,
yeah.
it's just social and it's volleyball.
And your formal volleyball is beach now.
Yeah.
So there's still no
And-
politics in, at least,
Exactly.
no coach telling you. I mean, with us, it wasn't really politics that was bugging us in club
It
world.
was
Just incompetence.
it was
just
the
bad,
9-1
just
ratio.
coaches. Yeah, it was the 90-10 thing. It was just the bad coaches who just don't know what they're talking about. And then you get a player who knows what they're talking about because they grew up in it, and then they are told things is just garbage.
Yeah.
Like literally garbage. Like anybody would like say, what is that coach doing?
Yeah.
And we just seem to find them every year. And
it's-
again, I'm I'm not a regular parent sitting around watching going, oh, well, why are there?
That's so strange.
Yeah, it's just, why are I knew what I'm
Why are
looking
they
at here.
standing on the attack line?
Yeah, really weird stuff, man.
So you also had a good post. Was it last week?
Sorry, that was standing on the attack line for serve receive, by the way.
Yes.
In case people are wondering.
Serve receive, yeah.
Serve receive, stand on the attack line. All the passers. Really? Okay. Anyway, sorry. Just had to say that.
Remember you made that post of like showing like a highlight of U10 kids playing in Japan and just
Right.
this epic rally where like
With good hits, good digs.
good hits, great bump sets, like hand setting, great digs, continuation, chasing the ball down. Like this rally went on and on. So what do you think that ratio is in Japan?
For the coaching?
Yeah.
Well, I think, it's definitely connected to like the society's self-esteem, right? So if you have a culture that destroys everybody's self-esteem on purpose for profits, right? Because like social media, I think it's no secret that, our society loves to make you feel bad about yourself, so you spend more money.
Right.
Then you're going to have a lot more idiots out there for the wrong reasons, coaching and, for building up their self-esteem to get that power trip.
Yeah.
Versus a society where people are well-adjusted, not as, it's funny because Japan
You
adopted
can't even
it.
emigrate there. Right?
Yeah.
They're very
Insular, yeah.
proud. Like obviously,
Yeah,
incredible history.
Japan adopted, a capitalist, after World War II.
Yeah.
They became very capitalist, which is very interesting.
they love volleyball.
Yeah, but they don't. But it's also a culture that, like, in terms of the volleyball society, they take the best players. Remember,
Yeah.
that's sort of what the post was asking. Like, should we take the best players regardless of height? So, I still like, obviously your model should be tall middles, but outside hitters, should vary a little bit, right? For the
leeway.
and I think our society has forgotten, talking about politics, the value of not taking small for the sake of small, just taking the best players, right, at different positions. So if you have a short, like let's say you have a shorter middle that's blocking everybody, then they should be on the team.
Well, maybe this is going to be racist or heightist, but maybe like 5'10" is really tall.
Yeah, but no, but the no, you're right. It is a shorter culture. There's nothing to. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. But the problem is they're performing against the tallest countries.
Yeah.
Right. So they're outperforming. Like, so, some countries have taken the policy
Majority of them, yeah.
Let's go tall. Some countries have done. Look at Engapeth in France. What is he? He's not tall.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best hitters
I think
in the
he's
world.
taller than we think he is.
Probably.
Just 'cause he's surrounded by
Probably.
monsters.
Yeah,
but-
probably. But he also has super long arms.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but still.
But you're right.
But still, right? Like,
Noticeably shorter than everyone else.
I made that post about Karch Karai in certain programs today at on paper 6'2", right? I think that's probably accurate. He might not get a sniff at universities today.
Yeah.
And the guy has a 48-inch vertical.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But that's stupid. That's not even. I don't even know if that's politics as much as like people just not knowing the game.
Yeah. Right. It's like ignorance or
Yeah. 'Cause that's like. I guess politics keeps the dummies.
lack of confidence because the whole thing, we don't know how to coach.
Yeah. So let's just get tall people up
Yeah.
there and hope they block everything. But short players can block. Short players can put it away. A lot of short players put it away. Look at, we keep going back to Nishida in Japan. The guy's like pushing 6 feet barely. They say 6'1".
Highlights of that Zuby Shake guy back in the day.
Well, I that's why I believe in short players if they're short and explosive, because I was that player, and I knew if I met a tall player that I was just going to jump higher and swing harder.
Shorter players have always had better form.
And just the explosiveness, right?
Yeah,
that's
you
what
have to.
Yeah, you have to, and it's just like the coordination, the shorter, shorter levers, I guess you want to call them, right? The knee, quad, just explosive, quick movements versus longer, slower, like just because of the length of the lever.
Yeah, it's easier for you to do squat and bench press.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in the nude, I find.
Yeah.
Early in the morning, usually in my backyard. Neighbors don't mind either.
That's when you know when you've gone deep enough in the squat.
You don't you're deep enough in the squat. You haven't gone deep enough until you fart. That's the rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that on the internet. Urban
Right.
Dictionary as well. No, but that's I don't know if that's politics, but the height thing is a big issue. And I think again, but it does tie into it because so many clubs do make decisions or set policies which then become politics, right? Like if they're telling their coaches,
Similar word.
it's the same root word. Once it becomes a policy from the director down, we take the tallest players, then that is politics.
Yeah.
And maybe the coaches just believe in it because they're being told that from some director or something. But the key is, though, like we were saying before, like it does happen at the highest levels too. It goes all the way down. So what can you do? I mean, I think the solutions part, is the key, because if it's going to happen, if there's going to be organizational or individual, idiotic political decisions being made, as a parent, I think there's one thing that you should do, and that is to prep your kid for that reality. And when you encounter it, tell your kid, it's good to find out about this because this happens at my job. It happens at your, other people's workplace.
Yeah.
Happens in all areas of life, right? And every sporting event you watch, every movie you watch, every song you listen to on the radio on Spotify, on your phone, all of those artists face politics on the way up, and some of the ones you've never heard about never got there because of politics, or never seen on the screen or whatever. Or the athletes you're not seeing never got there because of politics. So it is a nice thing to encounter, believe it or not. It's actually very useful to encounter and to know that that's what the world is. And then I think the other thing is to teach your kid that there is such a thing as being undeniable.
Yeah.
And, I told my kids this whenever they met something stupid in life. I'm like, well, just, you could work harder, and be undeniable. Like that's the answer, right? There are people that will just be undeniable. I mean, actually, here's a good little story for you that the listeners might enjoy. So like Michael Jackson, right? Michael Jackson, legendary singer, right? I don't know so his father had the rule that Jermaine Jackson was the lead singer of the Jackson 5, right? And Michael Jackson's mom heard I think he was like 5 it must have been 6 or 7. He heard Michael Jackson singing while he was making his bed one morning, right? And she goes to the dad and says, so this is like a politics, it's a policy of the father, right? That Jermaine is the singer because Jermaine was a great singer. And the mom says, you got to hear little Mikey sing. He's really good. And the dad's like, I don't care. Jermaine is the singer. And then she's like, no, you have to hear Michael sing. So then she forced the dad to sit down and listen because, Michael's dad is famously stubborn and, control freak dad, right? And
I don't know that.
Yeah, so he very strict with the boys, and so Mike, and then she said, no, you have to listen to Mike, and then he heard Michael sing, and he's like, oh my god, you're okay, yeah, you got to be the singer,
right? And
then they say that caused a rift between Michael and Jermaine, but the point is that if that were a sport, that would be someone forcing someone to break their policy, their politics, right?
Well, he forcing him to take a look, and then he broke his own policy.
Yeah, because it was undeniable. But that was the whole point, is that because it was undeniable, right? And that voice became, one of the most famous ever. Yeah, it became undeniable, right? So that's what, and there was not, in that case, it was more of a phenom thing. But in sport, you can be your version of undeniable, right?
That's got to be the best advice. The first and foremost part, right?
Yeah.
Because you can even still try harder and become better and still
not
be
make
faced.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
at least you can sleep at night.
Yeah.
I think the default problem, the problem today is that I want to do another show similar to this, but being undeniable is cool because you can then you may have the right to complain. Like I think that we go to complaining. Like I used to tell my kids all the time, my daughter, if they were facing a playing time issue, I said, so have you done enough to on your end of the equation? Like, are you doing the weights? Are you doing the training? Are you doing the, endless, are you doing extra reps? So you are undeniable. I think she was right in the case, but I was like, have you done enough to earn the right to complain, right? Earning the right to complain is sort of the show I want to do eventually, but I think it ties in with this politics one. Because you can sit there and whine about politics, or you can use politics as a great motivator. There's two ways. We talked about this actually recently, right, with us too. Like, there's two ways you can look at adversity. You can look at it as like an amazing opportunity to like push you and drive you, or you can look at it as something that sucks and it's unfair and it's one of them clearly is good for you, and the other one is clearly bad for you.
Yeah.
So
you can use the unpredictability of the fact that politics will inevitably come up. and then you can just use it as a scapegoat. That's not
Mm-hmm.
how you want to end up coming out
Yeah.
after you react with it.
Yeah, it's better to say politics is inevitable, so I'm going to try to be undeniable
Yeah.
as often as possible. And, easier said than done, but then how many people are really doing it? Like, how many people are doing their max, really, right? Because I always said this, too, like, do you want it badly enough?
Well,
like, to players, I'm like, if you want it badly enough, it's not complicated. Like,
Right.
anybody listening to this, like, if you want anything in your life really badly, it's not complicated
And I
on
think,
what you have to do.
I think with that one athlete we were mentioning, they will be continuing to go back.
Yes.
Right.
And that even they so this person made a social media post that you're referencing, and it was very positive. And
It was, yeah.
I felt compelled. I don't know if you saw, I commented on it because
I didn't see your comment.
so yeah, through our other business, I commented on it because it was like, this is the very reason why you guys are great and why you'll be fine, because it's this mindset. Because the mindset after the post about politics was that we're going to keep on fighting, and we're just going to it's going to motivate us to do more.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't like, oh,
Who did
screw
that?
this and screw that. It was like, okay, here's what happened in our governing body. Here's what we did. Here's, what happened.
Yeah.
But we're just going to go, it really is. That's the key difference between, I think, great individuals and people that aren't so great, is the other people get, disheartened, and they get blamey too long. You can be blamey for a couple seconds. You can be blamey for a day or two, but then you better start getting on the undeniable path.
Yeah, working.
Yeah. Because that's the difference, right? People get hung up on stuff versus people wallow for a couple days and then they go, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to be that one person that gets caught up in the politics too long. And even for your kid, like if you're a parent listening to this, it's very important that you say, listen, we know we got ripped off. Or I agree with you. We got ripped off. But so what are we going to do about it? Are we going to sit around? Are we going to go somewhere else? Are we going to go next year even harder? That's the moment. That's where you should be grateful for politics sometimes, because it can teach your kid that. I mean, for my case, like when we had, unrealistic or like pretty crappy circumstances, I used it as an opportunity to teach my kid to play free. I said, hey, listen, if your coach for whatever reason isn't seeing what you're doing in practice, so why are you walking in there nervous? Don't walk in nervous. Go back there, crank your spin serve, crank your hits.
Yeah.
Play with no fear, because they're not going to notice anyway. So if you think the coach isn't rational, don't play rationally. Don't be out there fitting in, looking over your shoulder, worrying about messing up, tipping because you don't want to mess up.
That's how you want to play.
And then she went out and she started wailing the ball, spin serving, and she still didn't get the playing time. And I said, see, they're still not noticing.
Yeah.
But you learned the
You're
value.
more fun.
But she saw the difference of playing free and playing with no fear versus fear. And a lot of parents don't get that when I say it to them, but it's a gift to play with no fear. Trust me. You don't want to be thinking about crap when you're in the air or when you're passing. You want to
get to that.
You want to be flowing. It's a wonderful place to be.
Wonderful.
It's so wonderful.
Wonderful.
Now my fears is that I'm going to injure
Wizard
myself.
of Oz? Huh?
Wizard of Oh, It's a Wonderful Life? That's
I was thinking that's a wonderful place to be. Isn't it one of the songs?
Wonderful place to be. I don't think that's a song. It could be a song.
No,
We could release it if you'd like.
I'll look it up and we'll talk about it.
It's a wonderful place to be.
No, I think it's just the word wonderful in the Wizard of Oz in one of the songs.
Oh.
It comes up.
Put it in the comments if you.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful.
I'm probably wrong.
Because of the wonderful things he does.
There you go.
Bam.
Bam.
All that for an unrelated song.
I can't do it.
Shamona. Yeah.
Yeah.
So politics. If you're doing politics, stop it.
Stab it.
I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Takeaway. Like I think we're good.
so.
I don't think there's anything else we can add. Did we cover is there anybody listening here that's going to say, hey, they didn't talk about this type of politics? I mean, we talked about the stupid decisions of clubs based on money or parents.
Yeah, there's always going to be nuance and specific little examples, but like we don't need to
go into everyone.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No? Okay. We'll just tell people that their problems aren't important. Way to go, Eric.
No,
that's where we'll end it. No, you said it. No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. right, everybody. Thanks for listening again, and we'll see you next time. If we did forget our story, or if you have a story, let us know in the comments on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube.
What do you think is considered politics?
No, tell us your specific story. We read them, so we might not answer, but we read them. So it might give us some fodder for future shows.
True.
Fodder is a good word.
Good
Isn't
word.
that also a song in the Father? Dear Father? No.
That's Austin
that
Powers.
sounds okay. I don't like this.
Yeah. Getting weird.
Oh shit! I didn't hit record. No, I'm just kidding. The whole show. Let's do it again.
Oh man.
What's the big idea?